Ladies and gentlemen, Sunday is here again, and that can only mean one thing. Yep, it's time for another episode of the Top 5 Camps. Now, if you've been with channel for a while, you'll know the drill by now, but for those who don't, the first half of this video is going to be the best clean builds of the week, and the second half is going to be the 5 best immersive builds of the week. So with all that being said, let's crack on. In the number 5 spot for the best clean builds, we have Imhappytopoo with the Fusion Modern Home Camp. And yeah, it's an Imhappytopoo build, so it's got to be bloody clean as a whistle, isn't it? So first thing that stood out to me on this is the fact that you've used bookcases as walls. At least I call them bookcases. Some people could call them shelves. I don't know, I don't really care, yeah. Bookcase, shelf, it doesn't really matter. He's done something different and it's bloody cool. Now aside from that, I love the overhanging roofs and the skylights. Guys, you know, things like that for me, even though they, you know, don't look too complicated, I reckon they add a lot to a build. It makes them stand out, shows that there's been a little bit more care and attention put into it. Yeah, Imhappytopoo, I can't complain about this exterior. I think you've done a solid job on it. There's a lot of people building with random shit at the moment. I don't know what's in the water, but it's nice to see. Now, interior-wise, as per usual, mate, you've done an half-decent job. I like the speakers that you've made there. I'm not quite sure what you've used. I'm going to have a little bit of a look. Hang on. Yep, never mind me. I'm just losing my mind slowly. My last 2 brain cells are fighting for dominance. That's not a speaker. It's a phone. What the fuck? Guys, it's been a 1 week. Leave me alone, right? As I was saying, I like your interior. Personally, I think it could have had a little bit more in it. And in fact, Moonlight Cowboy agrees with me. Oh yeah, forgot to mention, Moonlight Cowboy is your judge this week. Judges are back, but this time we're not going to be using randomers. We're going to be using, you know, builders that are a little bit more established. I'm not saying that the previous judges didn't know what they were doing. It's just I've got to be a lot more particular in selecting them from now on. Anyhow, yes, like I said, this build, really nice exterior. The interior, very solid, but could have done with a little bit more. And personally, if I was judging it, this would have been a little bit higher up in the list. Imhappytopoo, thank you very much for entering this week. Congratulations on the number 5 spot. More than well deserved, my friend. In the number 4 spot, we have Dark One with the Pole House build. And this is different in a number of ways. It's in an unusual location overlooking Fallout's version of Blackpool. No, that's not right. Blackpool is much, much worse than this. And as well as its weird location, it's a floating house, effectively, that doesn't defy gravity. Dark One's actually, you know, made it realistic by putting in a foundation and a supporting pole. If only some of the builders in the wasteland, you know, followed that mantra. Gravity's a thing. Dark One, I think this is a really, really clever camp build. I love the supporting pole. Let's just establish that right now. Not just because of its, you know, structural necessity. It looks good as well. You've not just stuck a couple of stair posts in there. You've made something. Aye, top marks on that, man. Now, the only thing that Moonlight had to say, I'm not going to use the word negative, critique about the exterior of this is you could have done a better job than just using a catwalk as an entry. Personally, I don't know what you could have used, but I'm sure Moonlight has some, you know, contraption that takes 97 years to build. However, for those of us that don't hate ourselves, personally, I think you've done all right with that, mate. I'm also really liking the steps that you've made out of the stone defensive walls. So that's a nice touch, that, bud. I don't know what he's on about with this entranceway. I think it's bloody amazing. Now, on to the interior, and yeah, I can't really complain about it, bud. You've done a decent job on it. I'm not too brilliant at commenting on modern stuff because you just find something and slap it down. You know, that you don't really have to be as, what's the word, conscientious about where you place things. I've always seen it as, imagine what kind of house you'd want to live in, i.e. there's not like fecal material or shite all over the floor, and implement that into your build, and voila, you've got a modern style camp. Clean, efficient, no nonsense. You get what I'm saying, don't you? Nope, you probably all don't. Dark One, I think you've knocked this one out of the park, my friend. It's a pretty unique design. I like how you've implemented the design. You've not made it, you know, technically impossible. It makes sense. Thank you very much for entering this week, and congratulations on the number 4 spot. Numero 3, we have OED, or is it OED? I'm saying OED because it just rolls off the tongue better. Anyhow, as well as having a cool White Springs modern camp, this is a first-time entrant to the competition. I repeat, a first-time entrant, and they are in the top 5. How's that for bias? Now, what OED has put together here is a beautiful looking modern home. It reminds me of Aquanova's old builds. Do you all remember them from DTD's top 5? Yeah, of course you do. Now, I love how clean it is. It isn't really simple. There has been quite a few tricky techniques used here. For example, the fireplace there being used as a wall piece. Well, I say it's tricky. That's not really a trick. Maybe a bad example, but you get what I'm trying to say, don't you? In a shell of a knot, there's been a load of little bits done to it that aren't really necessary that make it stand out. Like I say, the aforementioned fireplace and the benches that have been used there as a little wall feature. Stuff like that it just makes a difference. One thing I am not a fan of on this exterior and Moonlight, I think you may have missed this or you've just not mentioned it, power conduits on the roof. That is one thing that you could do with changing. Oh wait, it's not a big thing, I know, but it does detract from it a little bit. However, overall, I think you've done a really solid job with this. It is a beautiful looking camp. Now, onto the interior, and again, I don't think you've done a bad job on it, but in my opinion, and this is just my personal opinion, it could do with just a little bit more. Now, I must admit that light feature when you walk in, and Moonlight said the same thing, it is absolutely stunning. That's a really cool little bit of building you've done there. However, again, I must say, I'm not a fan of the wire being visible going to it, but it's a little thing. It's easily remedied if you even that asked about it. I've done worse things, believe me. Overall, though, you have done a solid job with this. It just needed a little bit more attention to detail and just a little bit more putting into it, but it is a beautiful structure. There's no denying it. Thank you very much for entering this week, and congratulations on the number 3 spot. Welcome to the top 5, my friend. What a way to make an entrance. Right, so in the number 2 spot this week, we have a beautiful creation, and that's the only way I can describe it, by Nuka Nurse. Nuka, this thing is bloody gorgeous. I'm not going to lie to you. I love the A-frame shape of the thing. To be honest with you, this whole exterior is absolutely fecking spot on. I like the chimney breasts that you've made going up through the roof. Very nice touch. And I'm also impressed with how you've angled the front as well. A lot of people would just make that flatter than a witch's tit, but no, you've put a bit of, angulation in the situation. Makes it stand out, and it mustn't have been easy to do either. Nuka, straight up with you. Moonlight was very impressed with this exterior, as am I. I think you've done a bloody cracking job on it. That is a really, really nice looking house. However, I do have one critique, and it's only a little one, so don't get too pissed off, people watching. I know you don't like it when I comment on stuff like this. I'm not a fan of the foundation height difference. I think this would have looked so much better if you'd done it a little bit further up the golf course where it's flatter. However, it's an easy thing to remedy, isn't it? All you got to do is move your camp module and spend the next at least 72 months rebuilding this fantastic creation. But no, seriously, Nuka, you've done a good job with it. I can't fault it. On to the interior, and again, I'm really not the best person to be discussing modern and clean camps. I've always struggled with it, if you haven't noticed from some of the other videos I've done. But upon first glance, it's a little bit open for my liking. Now, that's not to say it's poorly decorated by any means. Some of the merge glitches you've done look phenomenal. However, like I said, for me, it's just a little bit too open planned. I like things a little bit more cozy and, filled up to the brim with shite. It just seems a little bit empty in some places. But again, that's just my opinion. I know we all have different styles. We all have different likes. But yeah, I'm just putting it out there. Nuka Nurse, thank you very much for entering this week, and congratulations on the number 2 spot. Phenomenal job on this one. Right then, so now we come to the number 1 spot, and who do you think's got it this week? Well, unfortunately, I'm going to have to keep you waiting for just a little bit longer, because it's time for this week's clean honourable mention. Yes. And this week, it goes to Bella Boo with the modern replica build, and guys, she has done a really bloody good job at copying this real life equivalent here. I don't have a name for it. It's just a fancy house. Yeah. Now, it isn't easy copying real-life builds, ladies and gentlemen. The restrictions in the game do make it... They make it tricky, so for Bella to get it as close as she has, that is quite an achievement. Now, one thing that did put me off this build, I'm not sure about Moonlight, is the power conduits on the outside of it. They can be hidden quite easily, you know, and it's not a big thing, but it's maybe something to think about in future, or not. It's just my opinion, and it means fuck all at the end of the day. Bella, you've done a cracking job on this one. Thank you very much for entering, and congratulations on the honourable mention. More than well deserved. Right then, so now we come back to the top 5 and the number 1 spot. Now, I'm not going to keep you waiting for any longer. This week's winner is roadkillu with the Romans Road Cathedral. And I just want it to go down on record now that Roadkill was inspired to do this by Greengrass's Cathedral Church, if you guys remember it. We featured it quite a while back. Now, guys, I don't think I have to tell you how complicated this thing is to build, do I? I mean, you can just take one look at it, and even if you're not a massive builder in Fallout, it's pretty obvious that, yeah, this would have taken at least 7 kicks to the penis to complete. I think the most impressive thing about this entire build is that they are not walls like your typical snap-to-a-foundation walls. They're the defensive stone walls, and I'm seeing a lot of people using them at the moment, and they do have so much potential. I mean, guys, with a little bit of willpower and jiggery-pokery, you can use them to come up with structures like this, and it looks phenomenal, doesn't it? Now, I've actually been lucky enough to see this camping game, and trust me, this video does not do it any justice. It is absolutely spot on, and it doesn't just stop with the exterior either. On the inside, this thing does look like a genuine church. I mean, he's not gone too far with it. He's not done too much. It just looks like a functioning church, and I quite like that. And to be honest with you, it is a functioning in-game church. Roadkill actually holds sermons in here, which I think is quite a unique and different thing to do, and apparently people actually flock in to come and listen to him. I think that's mad me what people are actually doing on games now. It blows my mind. In a good way, though, you know, I may try doing a Fallout version of a restaurant and seeing how well that goes. Salmonella all round. All jokes aside, though, this is a properly solid build. The exterior is phenomenal, and I don't really need to say much about it, do I? It's difficult, and he's done a fantastic job to, you know, pull it off. And again, the interior is realistic and it's functional. I mean, what? You can be catered for a wedding or a funeral, all with the flick of a spikeboard trap. That's a nice little touch, that. Roadkill, thank you very much for entering this week, and congratulations on the number 1 spot in the Clean Camps category. More than well deserved. Hats off to you, mate. Right then, so that is this week's top 5 clean builds wrapped up. Now we're going to get on to this week's top 5 immersive builds. Intriguing. However, before we do that, if any of you fantastic people watching fancy trying your hand at getting into the top 5, it's really easy to do. All you got to do is click in the description of this video. You'll see a link to my Discord. Once you get over there, submit your builds in YouTube format to this section here, and hey presto, you will be entered into that week's top 5. It's really, really easy to do, and who knows, you may be featured in a future top 5. Anyhow, enough of all that, let's focus on the task at hand. In the number 5 spot for the Immersive Builds category is tailor-made with the River House Camp, and this thing is a really pretty looking little build, this. And when I say pretty, I don't mean, oh, it's cute that build, isn't it? No, I mean pretty shit looking, but that's exactly what we want from a scrappy camp. Straight off, I love the camp location you've chose. This place is deceptive. I've had trouble with putting foundations down here. If you put them too low in the water and they're wrong, then you're screwed. The game just devours them, you can't delete them, you can't pick them up, and it's just a clusterfuck and bad times all round. Now, the structure itself isn't anything too complicated, but I think it works well. As I said before, guys, you don't have to do some mad construction to, you know, make it stand out. Sometimes the simpler, the better, especially with lore-friendly stuff like this. You want to make it look like it belongs there, if that makes any sense. Yeah, of course it does, and in that regard, Taylor has absolutely nailed it. This thing looks like it should be in the world. Now, the only critique that Moonlight had about this was the outside could do with just a little bit more decor, but other than that, yeah, no problems whatsoever, my friend. And personally, I think you've more than made up for it on the interior. That kitchen area is just, it's incredible, pal. And it's not anything major. You've just done some simple merge glitches, but the items you've chose, the way you've done it, it just works. Taylor, I think you've done an awesome job on this, my friend. It's nothing too extravagant. It's nice and simple. But again, for this kind of theme, it works absolutely perfectly. Thank you very much for entering this week, and congratulations on the number 5 spot. Now, in the number 4 spot this week, we have Mina with the Appalachia Pumpkin Carving Contest. And she did actually submit this last week, and I really wanted to show it, but there was just so many cool Halloween builds, it didn't get in. However, I'm glad we can show it now, because this is an awesome camp, guys. What actually makes this one so cool, in my opinion, I'm not sure that's the right word, but we're going to roll with it, is the location. Now, this is a pre-existing spot, believe it or not. Listen to me fix a go, pop, piggity pop, pop, pop. I'm sorry, that one. Yeah, this is a pre-existing spot in the forest, and it's got a lot of potential, but you don't see many people building here. There is a number of reasons for this. I believe you are pretty limited to what you can actually do, because it is a farmstead, and there's not actually much left of the building, so you have got to get bloody creative with it. I think Mina's found a perfect use for it, though. I mean, pumpkin carving, honestly, guys, would you have come up with this idea? I think it's clever, and it's very bloody unique, too. Truth be told, there isn't actually any structures that she's built here, none that I can see anyway. This build is all about the decoration, and she's absolutely killed it. Seriously, she has absolutely smashed this one out of the park. The decor is on point, and she's kept in theme perfectly. You know, there's no giant, I don't know, Nuka-Cola bottle randomly standing in the corner for no apparent reason. Yeah, you may think I'm chatting out my arse, but the amount of times that I see that it's actually unnerving how often I come across that kind of shit. Whatever floats your goat, I guess. Mina, this is a properly awesome camp. I wish we could spend a bit more time taking a walk round it, but to get all the details, I think we'll be here till next week. Yeah, awesome work on every front. Thank you very much for entering this week, and congratulations on the number 4 spot. More than well deserved. Coming in at number 3, we have Ebu666 with the Union Relay Outpost. And wow, this thing stands out because it's bloody different, isn't it? What an unusual style of build. Let's have a look. Right off the bat, I love the mixture of different things you've put in here. It's like a blancmange of random building items, but it all works so well together to give a proper scrappy vibe. I love what you've done with the car in the container. You've done that on a few of your builds now, aren't you? I think you have, and I'm always quite impressed by it. It's different. You don't see a lot of people messing around with stuff like that. I'm also a massive fan of the camp location as well. Yet again, it's a solid pre-existing spot, and I think you've done a bloody good job making it your own. The decor inside of this thing, top notch. In all honesty, I'm struggling to see what is actually there and what you've put down. That is a sign of a well-decorated immersive camp. If you're struggling to tell the difference, you've nailed it. Ebu, this build is next level. I love the structures. I like the little catwalk you've got going across the rooftops. I like the compound. I like how much detail you've put into even simple things like the defensive walls. You've not just used one item. You've mixed it up a little bit. And yeah, it just gives such an immersive and scrappy vibe. In my opinion, if I was voting this week, this would have been a little bit higher up. However, it's Moonlight's call, and I'm glad it's in here this week. Yeah, this is a really solid camp, this, my friend. Thank you very much for entering, and congratulations on the number 3 spot. In the number 2 spot this week, we have Silver Bunny with the Withered Warehouse. And I've actually seen this build in person, so what I'm going to say, Bunny, is going to be no surprise to you, but let's just breathe it all in. So, the first thing, I do like the location of this place. I think how you've used the dock leading out to your camp is a very clever idea indeed. It does give it the effect of an abandoned warehouse, which is exactly what you're going for. So yeah, fair play on that one. Now, in my opinion, there is a couple of things that could be improved on it. I would have gone for a flat roof and just a little bit more on the outside to break up the, you know, the steel corrugated building set. I don't know what the fuck it's called. You know what I'm on about. For me, the thing that really caught my eye about this build is the interior. It is absolutely bloody awesome how you've decorated this place. I mean, guys, just take a look at that. That is some seriously cool decor. I think my favourite bit about it is the multi-level. That's a really nice touch. And of course, the little scaffolding piece you've got there. I mean, it looks sketchy as hell. I wouldn't trust sleeping on it or anything like that. But yeah, it looks immersive. It's the kind of shit you'd expect people to do. Make do with what they have. Aye, Bunny, interior-wise, you have absolutely killed it. The kitchen area with the planters is Moon's favourite bit, and I must admit, it is a nice touch, that. You can tell you put a lot of time into decorating this place, and for your first ever scrappy build, I think you've nailed the decor. As I said, I would have changed a few things on the outside, and I'm only telling you this because I know you can tech it and you're not going to cry about it. But yeah, overall, 100% honest with you, solid effort on this one. Thank you very much for entering this week, and congratulations on the number 2 spot. Right then, so now we come back to the number 1 spot. However, same as earlier, before I show you who's in number 1, it's time for this week's Immersive Honourable Mention. Yes! And this week it goes to Nux, Black Thumb, and Spiral76. I don't know where to start with this. This is heavily modded. It's just insane, really. I don't know what to say. There's so much going on. I am way out of my depth on this one, but what I can say about it for sure is the way it's filmed is incredible. It's like a story. They've put so much time into this thing. It's unreal. Now, I'd like to comment on the builds, but I'm not really sure what I'm looking at. I am way out of my depth here. What is going on? I tell you, PC guys with your mods is just, it's just something else. Listen, all I'm going to say is, please go over to Nux's channel and just watch this video. I can't do it justice. It's 4 minutes long, and it's well worth it. Please, just heed my advice and go and take a ganders at it. Nux, Spyro, thank you very much for entering this week with this creation. Congratulations on the honourable mention. My mind is well and truly boggled. Right, so now we find out who's in the number 1 spot for the immersive category. And this week it goes to Imhappytopoo. I mean, good on you, mate. Fuck's sake. Some of the names that I'm seeing you lot coming up with recently are just, they're getting a bit ridiculous now. But yeah, anyway, moving on from that, this build has been very kindly uploaded on behalf of Pooh by Fuzzbrain. Thank you very much for that, pal. It's extremely gentlemanly of you. Now, this is the Pioneer Scout Homestead, and if you like junky and immersive kind of shit, this thing's got you covered in every bloody aspect on it. I mean, it's got a mountain of crap stuck to the walls of it for no apparent reason. However, in some weird and wonderful way that I don't think anybody can explain, it works. I can't put my finger on it either, but yeah, it looks good in my opinion. Honestly, this exterior, I am really impressed with it. There's a good amount of junk, there's a good amount of decor, and it looks scrappy. It's a bit of a mad one, this. Now, the structure itself is also very small, which gives me high hopes that it's going to be packed to the rafters inside. It's always a good sign for this kind of build. And while it's not overly complicated, all the extra little bits that you've added to it make it look a lot more detailed, and I can respect that. Now, onto the interior, and wow, yeah, just as I expected. This thing has crap everywhere, but it is really well done. Everything's been thought out, and it favours a hoarder's house, and that is exactly what we're looking for in this kind of build. Guys, I know I say it time and time again, but this is immersion right here. On top of all the junk as well, mate, I'm loving the merge glitches you've done. And again, that's something else I mention a lot, but they do make a difference. It's just that little added bit that makes a camp feel a little bit more unique, you know, because it's not an actual in-game item. Somebody's taken the time to make it. That's how I see it anyway. Imhappytopoo, you've done a brilliant job on this one. Exterior-wise, interior-wise, yeah, every single aspect of it, you fucking nailed it, mate. Seriously, you've knocked this one to the bloody moon, let alone knocked it out of the park. Thank you very much for entering this week. And again, thank you to Fuzzbrain for uploading this on behalf of yourself. Yeah, phenomenal work with this one. Congratulations on the #1 spot. And thank you to everybody who entered this week. You all did incredible work, and I can't thank you enough for taking part in the competition. Now, TNG's pick of the week would be Helen of the Dead's gas station here. Now, I'm only going to show this quickly, but I can't explain to you how difficult it actually is making those gas stations now. Ever since Bethesda removed the ability for us to, you know, stack them and build out, it's just turned into a nightmare. So yeah, fair play, Helen. As ever, I'd like to say a massive thank you to all my channel members and Patreons. The extra support is much appreciated. If that's anything that you guys are interested in, there's a link down in the description, as well as links to all my other socials as well. Anyhow, as we say it north, I will love you and leave you, and I'll catch you at next one. Have fun, everybody.